Now, it's an organisation of more than 1,800 clubs across Britain, and it has more than 55,000 members. According to its website, those members volunteer their time, talents, professional skills and energy to improving the lives of people in their local communities and others around the world. I'm talking about the Rotary Club. But does it have an image problem? Here are some Rotarians reflecting on the organisation for a Radio 4 documentary broadcast earlier this year.
Call upon President-elect to remind us why we are all Rotarians by reading the objects of Rotary.
The object of Rotary is to encourage and foster the ideal of service as a basis of worthy enterprise.
It's not for everybody, otherwise every single person in the world would be a member. But we're already a member of this world. And it's a bit about taking responsibility for what's going on. And I might not have dropped that litter, but I still don't like looking at it. I'm going to pick it up. I'm sure there's lots more people that want to do something about these sometimes small things that are going wrong in society, but sometimes far bigger.
Yeah, I do an awful lot for Rotary. It's a great social organisation, as well as doing great things for the community, not just in Britain but internationally. I think they are a mature audience looking around the room. In fact, I think I'm the only one here with my own hips.
You can't change a group of men all in the 70s, 80s, so why bother? Why, let them, they're happy, they're doing a good job. And, people keep on about numbers. It's not, it's about quality of people and, being involved and getting them to do things.
We find it very difficult to recruit younger professional and business people, mainly because of the time commitment. We meet every week, which some people find a big commitment to meet on a regular basis. On the other side of the coin, there is a financial element to being a member of a Rotary Club. So there's all sorts of problems, and we do have to get many more younger people involved in our movement.
Once every week in the year, everyone pure of an hour of good cheer in the Rotary.
Well, internationally, there's been a growth in membership in some areas, but in the UK there's been a 13% decline in numbers in the last decade. Rotary has also said it could be sitting on a demographic time bomb, with 85% of members currently aged over 55, and the organisation is asking itself what can be done. Joining me to discuss this, Ray Burman from Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland, and Rosemary Bennett, Social Affairs Correspondent of The Times, who also runs the Times Charity Appeal. Good afternoon to you both. Thank you for being on the programme. Ray Burman, these figures, first of all, a decline over the last 10 years in membership, but more newer members last year.
Yeah, indeed, Julian. We've seen the last 2 years a 10% increase on a 10% increase in recruitment. Much younger potential members join in, and both men and women. And we sort of came to the conclusion about 5 years ago that we needed to do something to change or allow people to understand what our image of Rotary really is, not the perceived image.
I mean, that sounds slightly more encouraging from your point of view, but still some clubs are closing, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but it's going to happen because society has completely changed, as we know. And now we have clubs that meet on the web, e-clubs, people are using social media. Clubs are meeting at all sorts of different times now. Breakfast clubs, lunchtime clubs, clubs that don't eat a meal, they keep the cost down by just having a cup of tea or maybe a soft drink, still doing good, basic Rotary service.
Rosemary Bennett, how do you see the Rotary clubs fitting into the wider picture, the area that you cover for the Times newspaper?
I think it has an extraordinarily low profile, given the very good work that it does and the amount of money that it raises. It also does have a terrible image. I mean, really, people in their 30s, 40s, and even people in their 50s think of Rotary as some sort of cross between the Masons and a dining club for retired businessmen, and that is not the case. I know that, but that's the image that they're having to live with.
Let's explore that image, Ray Burman, because we were talking about this in the office this morning and the name Captain Mannering came into the conversation.
Well, yes, indeed. I mean, Rosemary's dead right about our image, and it's something you're working up to. But I can tell you, I don't want to get into the stats, but
No.
Just in the last year, 38% of people who've asked to join a Rotary club are aged between 18 and 35. 52% between 32 and 60. So that's 90% of the people who are joining us are under the age of 60, and more importantly, 44% are women. So we do have a bad image, and it is that, Captain Manuin image. But the reality is far from that. I was at a club last Wednesday, a breakfast club, dynamic, really, really working for society. Very young people. And that's really the message we need to get over.
So, Rosemary Bennett, what we believe is not necessarily the case.
Perhaps, and I know, for example, Rotary does fantastic work eradicating polio, but it doesn't really tell anyone about that. I mean, if I was someone in my teens or 20s, I would think that's exactly the sort of organisation that I should belong to, but it doesn't shout about its achievements. I think there is a real problem of it becoming irrelevant, and it needn't be like that. Membership organisations such as the Women's Institute have totally kept up, made sure that they're recruiting very, very young members. They now have campus women's institutes in universities in London and so forth, and it's done that by making itself relevant without actually dissing all the stuff that's gone before. So it's campaigned on rights for sex workers. It offers things like burlesque dancing classes and sushi making, along with the more traditional things. It has not rested on its laurels, and it's out there growing and really defying the logic.
So you're talking there, Rosemary Bennett, about the Women's Institute. I think the Mothers' Union also may have crossed your mind as well in the same context. It's the idea of an organisation, a very long-established organisation like those, who are prepared to commentate, if you like, on current issues and be ready to react to current issues, and knowing that they are the sort of people that the likes of us will phone up for a comment.
Absolutely.
When something has been said
yes,
or
and
done.
I think being counterintuitive, I think that has really helped the Women's Institute by being quickly onto issues that they think affect women and that their members will be interested in, and being part of the debate.
Ray Burman, what about that?
Well, I think, again, Rosemary's right, in as much as, I would never be flippant and said they had a wonderful calendar and a Disney film to help their membership. but the reality is that Rotary clubs have changed and are changing. And there's two issues around that. It's one, not only the huge amount of work that we do locally in communities, and it's not necessarily about fundraising. We do the most amazing youth programmes, Rotary Youth Speaks, a Rotary Young Musician, many schools, huge amount of schools are involved with Rotary clubs on this. Then you get the international side, as Rosemary touched on. We made a pledge in 1985 to immunise every child in the world, and we are so close now. And that means governments have listened to Rotary. And we do that using the Rotarians in the developing world and in the other countries. Bill and Melinda Gates have given us $355 million, which we need to match with $200 million. They don't give that to an organisation that's a fly-by-night organisation.
No, absolutely not. I mean, one other thing to explore in the limited time we have, sadly, Rosemary Bennett, is the Rotary Club's name. You say Rotary Club and people aren't quite sure what it does. They're kind of aware of good works, but that's about as far as it goes, I suspect, in a lot of people's minds. Whereas a lot of charitable organisations, their name immediately tells you what it does and what it raises money for. Is that a problem?
I think it's certainly something they would need to think about. I mean, the Women's Institute managed to do it without changing its name, but I think there's a sort of cautionary tale in the area of war veterans. Help for Heroes came from nowhere 4 years ago and is now the dominant charity in that area. People know what it does. It's had a lot of backing, of course, from the media. We all know that. But it's also just managed to get people riding their bikes to Paris, climbing Kilimanjaro for that charity. It's a cautionary tale. There were already very many charities in that area operating, and Help for Heroes just moved in.
Ray Burman, a final thought on that?
Well, again, I could spend hours telling you about the huge amount of work that Rotary does. The simple answer is, if you're a young person, in fact, if you're any age, and you want to get involved in helping your local community or helping and developing people overseas, changing and saving lives, get hold of your local Rotary club. Look at the Rotary website, see what we're doing. The image of these old men meeting, the public face of masonry is not what it is. It's a very dynamic organisation.
Thank you both very much, Ray Burman and Rosemary Bennett. And if you want to find out more details about your local Rotary Club, the details are on our webpage.